misquoting, but it caught the substance of what he meant to say. Gerald Ford said that New York City should drop dead. And then, you know, so you had cities on the verge of default. Right before I was elected mayor, Mayor Wilson Good had his police department had napalmed the house where some community activists, they were very, very obnoxious community activists, so maybe they had it coming, but you know, it wasn't the kind of thing you want to have. So the whole block burned to the ground. And so that was sort of the image of cities. And then in 1992, the riot happened in Los Angeles with King. What's his first name?
Rodney King.
Rodney King. And we had an emergency meeting called of the U.S. Conference of Mayors, and I was on the board along with the 25 largest cities. And we met at an emergency meeting at the U.S. Conference of Mayors headquarters in Washington. And it was like that scene in The Godfather where the Don Corleone and the Tattaglia family, and the guys from Detroit and the guys from St. Louis, and all that, they were all around the table. You know, here we were, all the big mayors together. And they went around the table. Now, how can we take advantage of this situation to have an urban agenda? We need an urban agenda, meaning money from the federal government. And I was really bothered by that notion, because here we were about to announce to the world that we needed more money from the federal government, where our cities were also going to be burned like South Central LA. Now, that might have some appeal in the political realm, but if you think about it in terms of investment in your city, if you thought about it, who would you be appealing to if somebody had money and they were thinking of moving their corporation to your city, or who would that appeal to say, I'm about to burn down. Move your business and move to my community, and then maybe I won't burn down. But if I do burn down, you'll be here to burn with me. So I mean, it was just ridiculous, and I didn't like it. We weren't getting any money from the federal government anyway, and the U.S. Conference of Mayors keeps doing this over and over. When Homeland Security was the issue, then we needed a Homeland Security grant program for the cities, so we could all put magnetometers in the city hall. You know, and then one issue after another, they'd always have their hand out begging for money, when the federal government actually has even more money problems maybe than the local governments do. So anyway, I'm looking at that. So I dropped out of the U.S. Conference of Mayors. Now, I respect the organization. I actually have to work with them once in a while. So if you could please not pass on my critical remarks to them right away. But, you know, I thought, how can I spend my time more productively to try to add value to my city? And the design issue looked like one that was pretty productive. Because, well, first of all, cities actually have an inherent value. At least most of them do. The reason Wilmington is here is because it's on the river, and you have the agricultural economy, whatever the economy was upriver, and needed a place to transship the material onto boats and send it to England and bring money back. You know, however Wilmington fit into that. That's why the city's here. It's not because the state of North Carolina said, oh, wouldn't it be nice to have a city here, and we'll give you a charter. Maybe we'll send you a little aid check for something, and now you're a city. You know, it's a city because there was commerce. So, you know, if you look at cities, they have a real reason to exist. And empires come and go. You can see it in all of our lifetime, where the Soviet Empire collapsed. Started in 1917, ended in 1990. It's gone. But the cities endure. In Syria, Syria is in the news a lot now. Damascus is a city that's 4,000 years old. And it's gone through a lot of bad governments. You know, colonial country. Alexander the Great came in there and killed a whole bunch of people and put the Greeks in charge of Damascus. You know, one after the other, they come in and control the Romans, controlling the place, the Ottoman Empire, the Turks. But it's a very complex, important city, and it's still there. It has really bad government now from the guy who's running it now. But the city endures. So the empires change, the countries change, but the city endures. So I'm looking at this, I'm saying, well, I'm not going to waste all my time trying to figure out how the federal thing is. I want to figure out how can our city be really good. And then I was really motivated. I ran into Bruce Katz from the Brookings Institute, and he had this program of declining cities, and he was going to put our city on the list. And you know, like Buffalo and Rochester and Cleveland and all. You know, Milwaukee could be on the list too, and then I could be invited to a conference where we could all feel sorry for each other together. So, you know, that didn't appeal to me. I wanted to stay off that list. You know, keep Milwaukee off that list. So how do you do that? Well, you add value. You figure out how your community can add value. And one of the ways to add value is to have the built landscape of the city have more value, to grow, to add growth. So I was trying to figure out how can Milwaukee grow. And I'd look in the Sunday paper and I'd see all the housing developers, and almost everything they were doing was outside the city. There was, you know, a few of them would do a small subdivision in the northwestern corner of the city, which was the last part that was annexed. So there was still some open land there, annexed in 1962. So there was still some land left. And that was for cops and firefighters to live, because we had, Milwaukee still has a residency law, although the governor of Wisconsin is now mandating that the residency law be removed for cops and firefighters because their unions backed him in the last election. They're the only unions exempt from killing the union program. But, anyway, so I met with developers. I brought in 3 of the big housing developers and said, well, why don't you build houses in Milwaukee? They said, we don't do low-income housing. We're not interested in government housing. I said, well, I didn't ask you to do low-income. I didn't ask you to do government housing. I just wondered why you didn't do market-rate housing. They said, well, for one thing, you know, after they got over the whole low-income, you know, I didn't want to go there with them and try to educate them and slap them around for being racially insensitive or whatever, wherever they were going with that. I figured that wasn't a productive use of time at that moment. So I said, well, you know, what is the problem? They said, well, one problem is your permitting process. It takes longer to do anything in Milwaukee than any of the suburbs. It's a disaster. If I come down to City Hall, I go to pull some permits, and then I get that permit, and then I have to come back and get the next permit, and then I have to go to the plumbing shop, which is in a different building, and then I have to go up to this other place. It's not worth it. Why bother? Forget it. We're not interested. I said, well, you know, thanks for the information. I'm interested to hear that you feel that way, and I'm glad you told me that. You know, so then we looked at it, and I went through the process. They showed me what it would take to get our permits. If I was a developer, what would happen? They showed me. I said, well, it seems like they've got a point. and let's change it. So we started a development center, put everything together except for the plumbing shop, which had its own union with, we've done it this way for many years, and we'll do it after you're gone there. So I didn't fight that. Okay, so, and it's still that way. You can get all your permits in one spot except the plumbing permit. Okay, fine, we'll live with that. We'll work around that problem. But we changed it, and the developers who came in and moaned and groaned about it weren't the first ones to come in and take advantage of it after we changed the system. There were other developers who did that. There was a Russian immigrant whose name was Boris Gokman, and he had tried to be a developer in the ending days of the Soviet Union, when the glasnost and all that stuff, perestroika, all that was happening. And Gorbachev actually wanted to try to create a private real estate market, so Boris decided he would be one of those developers. And he had a little bit of access to money, which we won't get into where it came from or why it came from that direction or whatever, but he was a developer. And then he came to the United States, and he tried to develop in the suburbs, some of the suburbs around Milwaukee. And he ran into problems. But anyway, first of all, he succeeded. He was able to develop in a few of them. And he said there's a difference between trying to develop in the Soviet Union, where he had been a Komsomol member, that's the young communist, everybody, there was anybody had to be a Komsomol member. But anyway, so he had context, but the government was his partner. So he said the difference between developing in the United States and developing in the Soviet Union was, in the Soviet Union, if you borrow money and you can't, and you get in trouble, then you borrow more money. But in the U.S., I found that you must pay it back. I told him when I heard that, I said, well, it sounds to me like you're not going to the right bank. But anyway, that's another. But when he found out, we sent out, we put notices where we thought developers would see them. In the places where notices are printed, the Milwaukee Daily Recorder, which was a construction magazine, we sent messages, we sent people out to talk about our new system. And they came in, and not very many of them came in at first, but Boris was one of the first ones to come in. He came in, he wanted to build something. We had an urban code, a form-based code. We changed our zoning system, all that stuff, and said if you follow it, you can get all your permits in 3 months. That was our goal, 3 months. We didn't do it in every case, because sometimes there's issues that have to take longer. But that was a big, big change. And all of a sudden, he came in, he got his permits, he built several housing rental multifamily units, and then got into condos, and other people followed him. And we doubled the amount of housing in the downtown, and all kinds of good things happened, flowed from that, by facing the market and getting involved in promoting urban design. Now there's all kinds of other issues and battles that have to be fought. But here you had, an administration. My administration came in. It was supposed to be. We were supposed to be a bunch of lefties, environmentalists, and we were going to Sovietize the city and turn it into some sort of economic dead zone, according to my opponent. But we faced the market. The people before, it was like they were. If the city wasn't involved in subsidizing the project, then somehow it didn't count. If the city wasn't involved in it, it had to always be something that